So today in this video we will be discussing about 5 main points, that is definition of integers, absolute value of an integer, comparing integers, fundamental operations and the mass. So, firstly we will discuss about the definition of integers. Integers consists of the negatives of all natural numbers, that is -1, -2, -3, -4 and so on. It also contains 0 and natural numbers, that is 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Thus, collection of integers can be defined through this line, which consists of zeros, natural numbers and the negatives of natural numbers. So, now we will discuss about absolute value of an integer. The absolute value of an integer is its numerical value regardless of its sign. The absolute value of a number may be considered as the number of units that the number is represented from 0 without regard to the direction from 0. The symbol shown here is used to denote an absolute value of an integer. Thus, absolute value of an integer n is indicated by the symbol shown here. Now let's talk about properties of absolute value of an integer. Absolute value of a negative number is always greater than the number. For example, absolute value of -10 is 10, which is greater than -10. Second, the absolute value of a positive number is always equal to the number itself. For example, absolute value of +10 is +10. Third property, when the absolute value of a number is the number itself, the number under consideration is either 0 or positive. For example, absolute value of 0 is 0, absolute value of 5 is 5, absolute value of 16 is 16 and so on. Now let's discuss about comparing integers. Every positive integer is greater than every negative integer and 0. Every negative number is smaller than every positive integer and 0. 0 is greater than every negative number and smaller than every positive number. The greater the number, the lesser is its opposite. That is, if a and b are two integers such that a is greater than b, then minus a is smaller than minus b. For this, we take an example, minus 15 and minus 23. In these both two numbers, minus 15 is greater. But if these both are positive, then 23 is greater. There are four fundamental operations on integers, which are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So, firstly, let's discuss about addition of integers. When integers have like signs, that is, when both the integers which are to be added are either positive or negative. For example, we have to add minus 32 and minus 83. The minus will be the common and we will add 32 and 83. So the sum will be 115 and we will write a minus sign. When the integers have unlike signs, that is, one is positive and the other is negative. For example, we have to add positive 53 and minus 29. After adding it, we will get positive 24. Now let's see few properties of addition of integers. The addition of any two integers always gives an integer. Second, for any two integers like a and b, a plus b equals b plus a. Third, for any three integers like a, b and c, a plus b plus c is equals a plus b plus c. For any integer a plus 0 equals a. And last, the sum of an integer and its negative is always 0. That is, a plus minus a gives 0. So, let's discuss about subtraction of integers. Change the sign of the integer to be subtracted and then add. Let's see few properties of it. First, the difference of any two integers is always an integer. Second, for any two different integers like a and b, a minus b is never equals to b minus a. Third, for any three integers like a, b and c, a minus b minus c is not equals to a minus b minus c. Fourth, for any integer a minus 0 is not equals to 0 minus a. So now let's come and discuss about multiplication of integers. When the integers have the same sign, the multiplication of two integers when both positive or both negative is always a positive integer equal to the product of their absolute values. For example, minus 4 multiply minus 7 gives positive 28 when the integers have unlike signs. The multiplication of a positive and a negative integer is always negative. For example, minus 6 multiply positive 5 gives minus 30. Now, let's see few properties of multiplication of integers. For any three integers like a, b and c, first property says that if we multiply a and b, then the product is an integer. Second property, if we multiply a and b, it is equals to the product of b and a. Third, a multiply b multiply c is equals a multiply b multiply c. Then fourth property says if we multiply a by 0, then the product is also 0. And if we multiply a by 1, then the product is a. Then a multiply b plus c is equals a multiply b plus a multiply c. A multiply b minus c is equals to a multiply b minus a multiply c. Then the last property says a multiply b plus c is equals b multiply a plus c multiply a. Now let's discuss about division of integers. The rules for division of integers are the same as that of the rules of multiplication of integers. First rule says that if the two integers have unlike signs, the sign of the quotient is always positive. For example, if I divide minus 8 by minus 2, then the quotient is positive 4. And then the second rule says that if the two integers have unlike signs, the quotient is always negative. For example, if we divide 12 by minus 4, then the quotient is minus 3. Now let's see few properties of division of integers. First property says that if a and b are two integers, then a divided by b is not necessarily an integer. For example, 5 by 4 is not an integer, and the same is true for if we divide -7 by 2 or 8 divide by -3 and so on. Then the second property says that if a is non-zero integer, that is a is not equals 0, then a divided by a is always equal to unity, that is 1. For example, if we divide 5 by 5, then the quotient is 1. Then the third property. For any non-zero integer a, if we divide 0 by a, then the quotient is 0. But if we divide a by 0, then the quotient is not defined. For example, 0 divided by 5 is 0, but 5 divided by 0 is not defined. Now we will discuss about the combination of fundamental operations. This combination is defined in short form, that is DMAS, in which D stands for division, M stands for multiplication, A stands for addition, and S stands for subtraction. If we get any question and have to evaluate, then we will firstly divide, then multiply, then add, and then subtract. If we follow these DMAS, the answer will always be correct. So, here's a simple worksheet for you which you can solve and practice, since practice makes a man perfect. Now, here's a second worksheet for the combination of fundamental operations.